Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginning of part 2 of the Ark of the Covenant by Michael Fazio, and a brief synopsis is we just discussed the radiance that sets over the top of the plateau of the Great Pyramid inside the small triangle, which is the apex of the Great Pyramid. That is the radiance of light in the form of a glory. That's a glory. And this is the opposite of a glory in one respect, in that this is a nuclear detonation. So in fact the glory gives light, but a nuclear detonation, even though the sun is a controlled nuclear detonation, a nuclear detonation on this plane of existence, aka planet Earth, represents death. And this is how the pictographs work. There is the giver of life in what I call the God pod, and I will show you the God pod because this is the first time I am mentioning it. This is the God pod because everything inside the God pod represents life. So the Great Pyramid and everything inside the spherical nature of the compass that encapsulates the Great Pyramid is the God pod. Everything that is encapsulated by the compass that encapsulates the eagle and this nuclear detonation is known as the evil seed of death. These are chapters in my book, The God Pod and the Evil Seed of Death. And if you go to angelsontheark.com, there are 5 buttons. You can press any one of the 5 buttons to review 5 chapters, and the evil seed of death is the bottom button, denoted in red. Then you can read about the 13 evils that exist inside the evil seed of death. Now, to prove further that this entity is a nuclear detonation, we're going to go back to the compass or the God pod. This compass, the God pod, gives life. The compass known as the God pod represents the beginning of an era. It represents the beginning of the era of recorded history for 2 distinct functions in today's society. One of the functions is the Bible. One of the codices that I have discovered that are related to the pictographs on the $1 bill is the Bible. So in theory, we can go back 6,000 years or thereabouts, and mankind was supposed to have been created by this deity called God. It didn't happen like that. But the time frame coincides with the beginning of the Great Pyramid. And there's lots of theories as to why it didn't happen like that or it did happen like that. But I can tell you that the Great Pyramid represents the beginning of a period of history where the Bible starts, and the eagle represents a period in history where our civilized nation, as we understand it, is going to cease to exist unless people understand that this is a far greater reality than they have ever comprehended from my previous videos, or a far greater reality and a far more important reality than has ever been explained to the world before. Because on the reverse of the $1 bill is all the knowledge that is necessary to prove that there is in fact an entity or series of beings, as I call them, that have trickled down through society as a remnant society and have controlled every aspect of all civilized nations throughout all of history, including all of the books in the Bible that are in the Bible, including the books that were removed from the Bible, and including books that were never placed in the Bible. And there are a whole series of books that never made it to the Bible, that weren't removed, they just never got there. And there are reasons for this, but I can't prove any of it, but people know, theologians know that this is the case. Now going back to this pictograph, which represents death, destruction, and the book of Revelation, in our time, in a video called Obama is One of Many Antichrists, 2 Nukes, that I published on May 22nd of 2010, I predicted that there would be 2 nuclear catastrophes because the way I interpreted this pictograph and the words in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, told me through my interpolation of the words in the Bible and this pictograph that there would be 2 nuclear detonations towards the end of times, and I also interpolated that Obama would be the cause of this, and that is why I have Obama is One of Many Antichrists, 2 Nukes as a video. That is why I made that prophetic video, to prove that all of this was going to take place. So this is the nuclear energy or detonation that represents to a large degree what occurred in Fukushima on March 11th of 2011. However, everything inside this compass, everything that is encapsulated inside this compass, has to do with death. The arrows are something that is utilized by mankind to kill creatures, men, animals, flying birds, mammals, or fish, amphibious. The arrows are used to kill. In order to shoot the arrows, you would need a bow. Well, this bough of olive branch is spelled B-O-W. So in theory, you have a bow or a bow and arrows. So you have a bow and arrows. In theory, you have a bow and arrows. The eagle is a killing machine that is denoted in any encyclopedia on earth, which attacks its victims from the rear, and this eagle is a killing machine, a warlike machine, which suits the American symbolism perfectly because we are the most warlike nation on earth. The shield is something that is used in battle to protect the entity that does the killing. This bow and arrows is the first methodology that could have been used to do killing at or around the beginning of 1776. This bow and arrows was the main methodology in which to kill something. However, in today's world, nuclear radiation is going to be what is going to kill the mass of people on this planet, because once the catastrophes start to occur and the nuclear power plants are abandoned or they are somehow cease to work because of an electrical failure or because of a tsunami, the residue radiation or the residual radiation that emanates from any one facility, nuclear facility like Fukushima, is capable of killing a large portion of the world. And we have 160 nuclear reactors similar to that of Fukushima. We don't stand a chance above ground. So this nuclear detonation that exists over the eagle's head is the representation of the methodology in which they are going to use to kill the people of this planet. Now, to go one step further about what is considered nothing but death inside this compass, everything encapsulated inside the compass, I have repeatedly said that throughout my book that in order to see the devil, one has to turn the devil upside down in order to see the devil. So we're going to turn the eagle upside down, and then I'm going to show you what the eagle looks like when he is inverted upside down. He looks like an Indian war chief. This is the headdress at the top. Right above my two fingers is the headdress. Then he has on his breastplate, which is also a representation of the breastplate that protects the chief. And the chief has a bow and arrows and feathers. So here are the feathers and the war bonnet, the bow and the arrows. And this is the end of part 2, ladies and gentlemen, of The Angel on the Ark of the Covenant by Michael Fazio. End of part 2.